start recording you've had problems with. It's the stop recording.
Yeah.
It's time to stop recording, and he hung up the phone. It's like,
Oh. Well, I have watched every episode of your podcast, and I have thoroughly enjoyed them. And it's so nice to see Anita this evening. So, yeah, because I know we've chatted over TikTok and so on, but it's so nice to see you on camera and to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
well, welcome. I believe you are our only fan.
In fact, because we found out that you've watched every show and you're our only fan, this is actually an intervention.
Yeah.
No,
That's what it really is, Jeff. That's right.
I do believe
the mental problem you have somewhere.
That's
obviously.
right.
Yeah, you need to hold up a sign that says "Get back on track" or
That's
stop
right.
wandering.
Okay.
So this time we watched The Swimmer,
Mm-hmm.
a movie I had never heard of.
It's Stacey's recommendation.
Yes.
Oh, yes. And I had heard of The Swimmer, and there's kind of an interesting story about this this movie. After I chose it, I thought there's something that's ringing a bell about this. And I chatted with my father about it. And my grandmother's cousin, I don't know which pool it is, but her cousin, the movie was filmed in Connecticut, and it was filmed on his property. Now I don't know which pool it was, but I was fascinated by that, and something rang a bell with me, and I said, "That's right, it was The Swimmer." And I said, "This was in the late '60s, 1968." And he said, "Yeah." So that was quite interesting for me. So after I picked it, I thought there is a connection here. So
Okay, I am betting on the naked people pool.
I think so. I think that would fit in. Yeah, I wondered that when that scene came on. I thought, I wonder if that's the pool.
Now, did they let him? They didn't. Did they let him in the pool? And did he go? I can't remember that part because they said one of the people said, "No, you can't go in our pool." Right.
Right. I think it was that one. I think it was the party scene. I believe it was. Yeah.
Oh.
And that was near the end of the movie where his personality he was in conflict and everything. But I'm sure we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah. So what did you think of the movie?
I liked lots of it, not all of it. Mostly because it gave me more questions than I got answers to, and so, but I like the way they did it. I'm really glad I watched it. There's a lot of really good things about it that I appreciated. So,
Right.
Jeff, what do you think, Jeff?
Well, so the first half was obviously a little different than the second half, and I knew in the first half there was something off about him, and I'm glad the second half turned out the way it did, because then it sort of brought to light the thoughts I was thinking. There's something strange. What's going wrong here? There was a pacing in him, or I don't know what it was, but he just seemed wrong. And
But
then
they did that well. They cleverly unwound him in front of our eyes, which I thought they did that really well.
I did too, and especially as it went along too, as he was noticing the temperature too, and he was getting colder and colder, like he was chilly, and he kept going like this. And I thought, okay, we're leading up to something here. Yeah. I preferred the second half more than the first. I knew that there was going to be some type of conflict, but I wasn't quite sure what was going on. So I thought, okay, I don't know about this movie. But as it went on, I thought, okay, I was liking it better as it continued. And like Jeff said, the first part was different than the second part.
Where do you think the turning point was? Like, what was the thing that made it go from the first half to the second half? Where's your crux? I know where mine is.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Anita? What
for me, the turning point was the jumping around the horse corral. Was the babysitter there with that one? Or see, I'm starting to get all of them confused. Like the babysitter, I think was one of them. That I thought was kind of a turning point. He kept trying to invite people along on his journeys, and it's like, why are you inviting people along? Like,
yeah, I found I found for me, the turning point for me was the party scene. And I guess he was in the water in the party scene where he was in the water and he's trying to swim and all these people are coming in front of him. That's where I thought I could feel this angst within him. And to me, that was the turning point, that it was leading up to something, but then it was almost like a frenzy in his mind that all these people were in front of him and he's trying to swim and trying to get away.
He also had that people in front of him when he went to the public pool. When he was at the public pool, there were people in front
it was the
of him.
public pool. Right. That's right. Yes.
the
Public pool. Yeah.
It was almost, he was drowning in people.
Yeah, that's right, Jeff. It was the public one. That's right. Yeah. Because I knew there was a lot of people in the party scene, but yeah, it was the public pool. That's where I was noticing a real turn. Yeah.
So my turn was when he was with the babysitter and he tried to kiss her and then she runs off and I'm going, that was the moment I went, uh-oh, my suspicions are confirmed. There's something wrong with him. Like at that moment I went, and then it went downhill after that. He was walking depressed. Like the beginning was almost National Geographic, running through trees at the beginning. Like they had the camera going through almost nature. And then it comes out to a pool and he dives in. That was like the first kind of scene.
Yeah.
And then he had nature after it, but it was dreary nature. He wasn't racing a horse anymore. He's hobbling as he's walking through a long distance.
Well, part of the thing I couldn't figure out, was this all over one day? Like I didn't know, but yes, it appeared to be. Why wasn't he wearing shoes?
He's swimming.
I know, but I mean, he's doing he walked to the pool. He should have taken his shoes with him when he continued walking. And the idea of his idea when, I think I'm going to go from pool to pool. I didn't think that was really strong. Now with CGI and all that stuff, they could have done a better job of, we now get his thing, because we didn't quite understand. Like I love quests. I love projects of especially walking, like swimming. Like he's got this unrealistic, why in the heck is he doing this thing that everyone's confused about, but he knows what he's doing. So that part I really liked. And I liked him getting the vision of, wow, I'm here, I got to be there, and there's a lot of pools in between. I'm going to check out each one of them.
That's right. Yeah.
I found that fascinating.
Yeah. And at the beginning, do you notice like all the different names of the people in the neighborhoods? He says, well, I'm going to go to this pool and then I'm going to go to this person's and so on. And he was just working his way through. And I found that quite good. But did you notice at the beginning how positive he was? And this is what I'm going to do. And Jeff, like you said, like he looks strong and he's upright. And then as the movie goes along, he's starting to limp. And you could just see he's so tired, and
it drained him.
He to me, the idea of going pool to pool, Anita liked it. I sort of didn't like that premise. I mean, if you were in California and you lived in a certain neighborhood and every house had a pool, you said, I'm going to go through everybody's pool. That'd be a cool thing. But he's like running through nature for a while and passing horses to get to another pool to go in.
Yeah.
It's almost going out of your way to get in a pool, then out of your way to get in a pool. And,
it wasn't a great connecting thing. Like part of it was I'm going on a hike, and in between I'm going to hit as many pools as I can. More than I'm going to swim a river back to my home. That part, but this is based on a book, a story actually, and it's only 12 pages. So it's funny how the short story made me think, okay, John Cheever wrote it and he has 12 pages to tell a story. And then you have 2 hours to tell a story. Yeah. It's going to be a little bit of, running through the field or walking or swimming or whatever. So I got that. So the John Cheever thing, does anyone know the connection between John Cheever?
No, and I didn't even know.
Seinfeld.
What's that, sir?
And Seinfeld. So are you familiar with Seinfeld?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So when George and what's his wife? What was George's wife's name? No, George's wife. He was gonna marry.
Susan.
Susan. Yes. Susan's family had a cabin, and accidentally Kramer put it on fire with a cigar, and the thing burned down. And they found John Cheever letters to her father that were homosexual in inclination. And so that all came out, and John Cheevers was the author. So it's like, oh, that's the author of our story here.
I never knew that. That's interesting. And I never knew that The Swimmer was based on that short story either. And you said it was only 12 pages long?
12 pages long.
Wow,
So like,
to draw that out into a movie.
Yeah.
That's why we invite Anita to these podcasts.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
The
We learn
intellectual
new
side.
things all the time.
The
Yep.
weird, odd things. So he looked pretty good for 52 years
He
old.
did. He
And
did.
I
Yep.
didn't know that Burt Lancaster did not know how to swim. He was taught how to swim for this role.
And he seemed like a natural. He seemed like he was so comfortable in the water.
He seemed like he didn't know how to swim. I'm watching this and I'm going, why would they put a guy who doesn't know how to swim in a, I'm going to swim? Like, his love was pools. And the first pool he dives in, 1, 2, 3. Then he goes back and he hits the third leg. 3 legs in a little pool is nothing for even a fat guy like me. Like, I'm not tired after 3 legs. Get the pool.
I'm tired after one. Well, I'm afraid of water, and I always have been. I've never been a good swimmer. I don't like putting my head underwater. I had a traumatic experience as a young child, and I think my body and my brain ingrained it in me. Apparently, my dad was walking with me on his shoulders in a lake kind of area, and he went into a hole, and he went under, and I came under, and no one could find me. And finally, someone found my ankle and pulled me up out of the water. So I'm sure I was sucking water, and my body just doesn't. I don't even like taking showers. I don't like getting wet. It's just ingrained in me.
Oh,
but
yeah.
And I like the idea of swimming.
Sure, yeah. And I certainly can understand that too, because and how old were you? Were you about 4 or 5 at the
No,
time?
I was 1.5.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was one of those things that I can't say I do know how to swim sort of, but I basically doggy paddle and I drown slowly is what I do. So I'm not good at that, but I love the project of it. And I love how people were saying, well, why are you doing this? And it's like, sometimes you don't know the answer to why you're doing this. Cause I don't know. I just am.
Yeah.
When I climb the mountain, it's there.
That's right. Yeah.
It looked to me like he didn't know how to swim, and that was like a sort of bad. You remember when he was at the public pool and he's swimming and there's bodies going in front? I don't know if you noticed, but some of the kids are 10 years old and they're standing in the water and it's up to the waist.
Yeah.
That means if he stood up, it's up to his knee.
Yes.
He's actually on his belly, scraping along the bottom, pretending he's almost in deep water as he's swimming like this. But if he just let go, his head would still be up.
So that was one of the inconsistency. No, so because I didn't know if this was over days or not for a minute, and but I noticed that the sun was going down, and then the next scene, it's up a little higher, and then it's going down again.
Down a little bit.
And it's up again a little bit. So,
And it's bright sun, and then it's cloudy.
yes.
Well, they filmed it over like a long time and did cut other scenes in later. Like they released it 2 years after they filmed it, and somebody came in and I guess they changed the directors midstream. Somebody finished it.
Okay.
Yeah, they started with somebody, and then they had lots of arguments. So he left when 80% of the film was done. The final producer's name's on it, came in and finished the movie off. But you would notice that he sometimes has longer hair and shorter hair. Like it would go from one scene to another, and it's because they didn't quite get that right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it's not like they had a problem about what costume he was going to wear.
That's right. That's right.
They saved tons of money on costuming. He wore one suit and no shoes, nothing.
What are you called when you get the Emmy or the Oscar for costumes? What's that called? For
Costume design?
Is it costume design?
I think so.
You couldn't win it for this one.
No, and it didn't.
Off the rack.
It didn't win Oscars and things like that. So it was sort of a brainy kind of movie. Like in my opinion, it was trying to teach something more than just watching a movie about a guy swimming. They're talking about society and that it's the end of an age and things like that. So it was kind of brainy enough that I thought the Oscars would like it, but I don't think it had any awards really.
No, not that I know of. And I thought it was a very like psychological. It was a psychological study. Yeah. And yeah. And speaking of that low water, Jeff, remember that show you sent me a little while ago too? It was an English one, and they were talking about all this flooding and it's horrible and everything.
Floods or something, yeah.
That made me think of it. Oh my gosh.
Well, it's like the snow in the south. Oh, they have a whole inch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a great series called The Floods or The Flooding, and it was based on what happened in England 4 or 5 years ago. They had some massive flooding because the water wasn't being diverted properly, and some cities got an incredible amount of flooding. And this show is after that. It's a series. And there's, oh my goodness, there's a flood. Oh, we have to go out there. We're going to have to go save people. Oh, these are all cops. They're all talking, you go and I'll go. And then they get out there and there's a lady in a car. The water's only up to like halfway up her tires. And the water's rushing down and she's going, oh, no, help. And the cops can stay in the car, stay in the car. She goes, what? Oh, grabs her baby. Oh, and gets out of the car and starts walking in the water. And it's really only up to her knees. And she falls over and the baby goes, the girl, how did she catch it? Or puts it in a basket and it starts going down the river. And they run along the side to try and get to the other spot. And it's so badly done. And then when you see when it's a baby, it's a plastic baby. Real obvious.
Oh, yeah. And she's going like this, oh, my baby, help. And the water's so high.
Yeah. Well, that was a little bit, I can almost imagine him standing up in the pool saying, oh, it's not really that deep in here. But he didn't, he never did. So one of the things that, one of the pool filters had something in it that Jeff would go, hee. Diamicaceous earth. I'd never heard about it until a number of years ago. But this is before that, right? Well, this was filmed in the 60s.
That's how they did it back, like for a long time. You used the diamicaceous earth. So the cool thing about filters and what diamicaceous earth is, algae coming in through the filter you think is being filtered out. It's not. It's being killed. And how it's being killed is not how you think with poisons. Diamicaceous earth is really, really sharp sand with real sharp edges on it. It's glass
it shreds the insides of the animals.
Yeah, and to kill bees, we used to do this powder, which was diamicaceous earth, and the bee would walk through it, and then it would get in its joints, and it would cut them up from the inside. It'd be like bleeding or cut up or whatever, because it's all so sharp, and that's it. And so going through a diamicaceous earth filter, the water goes through, the algae gets killed, cut in half, and then the two pieces of algae come out the other end, and that's just fine. It's dead. It's now just dust, and that can be taken out in a regular filter process.
But like in the 60s, I wouldn't have known like what diamicaceous earth was. I didn't know about that until I was an adult, even. Like it wasn't commonly well known. So
they were proud. They took out 99.99% of the particulate matter, and they were really going on about that.
Wow.
But the one thing I was thinking when I was wondering about him, and before the thing happened with the babysitter, I was trying to think, okay, this thing that's wrong, is he autistic? And then I thought to myself, this is 1968. They don't have autism certainly recognized. So like you either were a little bit slow or you were fine, like that's how they looked at things.
Yeah.
You wouldn't look at autism as a function of what happened to you that you are like that. And it didn't end up being that. He actually had, mental trauma that he went through. They don't really tell you what that is.
Yeah, we don't have a satisfying ending with that. And that's the only part that I kind of go, oh, it would be nice to see if he was loved and cared for, but like I don't know, is he going to die out there by himself? And and what did happen to his wife and his daughters?
Yeah.
Like I think he did have success, but then it slowly slipped away.
Right. And when it was winding down too, and he was pounding on the door, crying, and the rain's coming down, I thought, oh, don't end it just yet. I was hoping that they would continue. And then the credits started, and I thought, I was the same way. I thought, no, I don't want it to end at this point. I want to find out more.
Yeah, Lucinda opens the door, and she says, "It's been taking you so long," or something like that.
So the one girl goes, "I'm going to drive you home." Now, was she going to drive him to that house, or does he live somewhere else? And his memories took him to his old house, because she was very confident in, "I will drive you home. I will get you home." And therefore, he's not going to go to not his home. Like, he's living somewhere now, right?
He was. Yeah, it's not like he got to his house and went, "Oh, nobody lives here anymore." His breakdown happened before that, and he's forgotten it.
Or the breakdown happened on the trip. He decided to go swimming because he had to change into a bathing suit somewhere and take off his clothes and his shoes somewhere. So wherever that is where he should have gone. So
where are his shoes?
They sent him back to his place, but is that the same place that all the people know? Even the people who are really worried about him, especially the woman he had the affair with. You know, the one that he said, I was in Toronto with you a year ago, and she goes, "I haven't been there in 3 years." And he's just, you know, and then they're saying things about there were 2 times they said that his daughters and his wife laugh at him and like they don't take you seriously. They don't love you. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
The older couple did, and that woman did.
That's right.
She also said, "I lied to you," which tells me that either nothing happened and she's saying, "I lied to you," to give him an answer rather than confronting him. Like, you know, when somebody has dementia, you don't argue with them. You just let them think the thing has happened that they're talking about. So she could have just been saying, "But I lied to you," to give him an answer. But she did it in a way of she really loved him and really wanted him and was pushing him away. You know what I mean? So he did fool around with her on his wife and got caught. And she was thinking he would somehow take her up on the offer. But now she's laughing at him and saying, I was faking the whole time. Everything was a fake. Yeah. So I didn't quite get I was in Toronto with you. No, you weren't. And then, well, I guess I was in love with you and we had an affair. Like, that was very strange.
Yeah, it was. Especially when she said, "I wasn't in Toronto. That wasn't me." Yeah, like she was just so firm about it too. It's like, yeah, I thought, where's this going? Yeah.
Could have said that was 4 years ago, not 1 year ago. That would have given a nice little answer. But I was in there 3 years ago and nothing about him.
Yeah.
He's got this whole life of and his were detailed about the guy coming into the room and like everything. He knew everything. So I don't think he was making that up unless he's just got such a ridiculous imagination that he's lived another life hallucinating.
No, I think he was stuck back in where he was successful. And when everything fell apart, he's not remembering any of that because he didn't go from perfectly successful to, you know, not dealing with reality. But the note I wrote down when I was watching it was each conversation that he has reveals cracks in his reality.
Oh yeah.
You know, it just got deeper and deeper as we go along. But he seemed to be merrily going along until the very end.
He did. And when he talked about the daughters too, playing tennis too, he would refer that a few times too. And then at the end where you see the tennis court and the net is down. And I found that was really almost eerie near the end where the camera zoomed in on that broken window and you were almost expecting to see somebody. And it was almost for a minute like a Psycho moment. It's like,
yeah, you didn't know.
See in there.
Yeah. So did you recognize any of the other people?
I sure did. And I actually was going to bring that up too. I had written a few notes and I do remember her at the party scene. Yeah. I think we're the same person.
Who were you thinking of?
Joan Rivers.
Yep. Joan Rivers. The other one was Kim Hunter.
Yep.
And she was in Bad Ronald, as Jeff remembers, a Scott Jacoby movie that scared the bejeebers out of us as teenagers.
Teenagers.
Yeah.
Teenagers. It was Caister Center.
Okay, but I don't remember it until a little bit later. Like,
we watched it in Caister Center that first time.
I just remember watching The Ghost of Mr. Chicken. in case you're
Oh,
sad.
with Don Knotts.
Which was absolutely the scariest movie on the planet. And then I showed it to my children and they laughed the whole way through it because it's Disney horror, which isn't real. But Kim Hunter was also on Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
There's also somebody from Star Trek.
Yes, Diana Muldaur, who played
Diana
Dr.
Muldaur,
Pulaski, and she was also on Star Trek, the original series.
Yeah.
So she had played.
That's right. And I found it interesting too when Joan Rivers was talking to Ned, and then her friend pulled her away and said, "Come on, Joan, come on," and called her by Joan. Yeah.
Gotcha. Or maybe she played Joan. I think she did. Yeah. The name of her character was, like, I can't pretend I'm someone else. Just call me Joan.
That's right.
Like, I'm not going to act.
Yeah. So
I
had mentioned, I had written down about the Joan Rivers, and what else did I have here? Just that I thought it got better as it went on. I wouldn't say overall it wasn't my favorite movie. I found it an interesting movie, but I wouldn't put it as one of my top 10 favorites. But it was interesting to watch. That's for sure.
There was another movie about the same time called The Swimming Pool, and so it's funny that the same kind of year they would. I'm going to look for The Swimming Pool here, and.
Well, I noticed there's no fenced yards. He wasn't hopping fences very often. And I also noticed that I think the first scene was like the fall leaves, and then it was spring flowers. And then it was like, so it's like, oh, okay. And I know it's Connecticut, so there's no winter in the pool, but it was like, okay, that's why I was thinking it's done over more than one day. But no, it was all one day, and it was just, they filmed it. It took longer than that to film. So.
The Swimming Pool is from 2003, but it starred Charlotte Rampling, and she did a lot of movies in the late 60s. She was like a famous supermodel at the time. So that's why I was thinking it was a lot earlier, because she was in it. Yeah. So that's called The Swimming Pool.
So right after I watched it, I watched Airport, because Burt Lancaster was in Airport. And I loved that movie for some reason.
1970, was that 1975, I think?
Something like that.
Yeah, Burt Lancaster. And then, of course, too, Jeff knows I love my spoof movies. And, of course,
Airplane.
He's got Airplane on MB, and I've watched it a couple times.
Clarence, Victor Vector, Roger.
Victor Vector, Peter Graves and Lloyd Bridges, and oh my goodness, And, so I think, was Burt Lancaster, was he the captain in that movie, or?
No, Dean Martin was one of the captains. He was the coordinator at the airport.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
He had to get George Kennedy to get the plane off the runway, and so I liked his character. He and who's the other guy? Charlton Heston. I kind of put them in the same category.
I do too. There's almost like they look a little bit alike too, but they were of that same time period too, like the leading men, and
And also, one of them was making more money, and so it's like, okay, whoever was making more money, if he didn't have enough money, you get the other one. Whoever was making more or less.
And I was thinking too, with Burt Lancaster, wasn't he in From Here to Eternity, that famous scene with Deborah Kerr where they're kissing on the beach? And there's another one that, for a person that didn't like to swim or the water, he's been in.
And Jeff might remember we watched Judgment in Nuremberg.
It was one of ours.
And he was also in that, and I thought he did a good job in there. But I think one of my favorite movies, and it's not a genre that I particularly like, but The Birdman of Alcatraz. I think that was him too. I didn't actually look that up, but that was a well done movie, I thought.
I saw that one about 15 years ago. That's one I'd like to watch again, and I thought he did a really good job.
He played an older man in Atlantic City. And Atlantic City, I think, was in the 80s, early 80s.
1980, I think, was Susan Sarandon. Was she in that one? Yeah.
And I don't know that one.
And you wouldn't know it's him because he's an older man. Like he's like a guy that she runs into, and I don't remember if they got together or something, but of that ilk for sure. There was some kind of tension between them.
Yeah, one of the things I liked when he was talking with the little kid who was making the lemonade, he was saying that maybe you aren't on a team, but that means you're responsible for yourself. And so, it kind of gave him a pep talk. And I thought, okay, he is sane. And then when the babysitter, he's stroking her hair, and I'm thinking, no, he's not sane. And then he says something, it's like, oh, this is pretty good. And then it's like, oh, he's losing touch.
When he wanted his little cart, his wagon cart back.
Oh, yeah.
That was the first time he stepped out of into pure silliness. Like all the rest about, oh, I'll give you, oh, don't worry, I'll pay you back. And they're all laughing. Sure, he'll pay me back. What was bad and wrong. But when he wanted that cart, I sit there thinking there is so desperately that he has to go back to relive his earlier years. And that's what he needs to go back to.
Yeah. I thought when he started inviting women to go with him, the other thing I noticed is he drank a lot. He didn't sit down and eat a meal, but he drank his way across
right.
And because I noticed that because like Martin and I just finishing watching Goliath, the series with Billy Bob Thornton. And he's a lawyer, but he's a smoker and a drinker. And you never see him eat anything, but he drinks his way through 4 seasons of lawyering. So it's like, okay,
yeah,
he doesn't need to eat food.
Yeah, it's like the little boy with the lemonade. Like he just guzzled that down, the lemonade. And that scene too with the little boy. Remember how he walked away and then he was hearing that noise like boing, boing, and it was the boy on the diving board, and he stopped. And I didn't recognize that sound. And I thought, oh, he's going back. And then there's the little boy, right? Yeah, jumping in the
empty pool.
Trying to empty pool. Yeah.
No boy would be in an empty pool and be pretending to swim and then go, I did a length. Like, yeah, nobody would ever.
That was a little bit. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. And I did find too, now you see this in movies quite a bit, but I did find that like with the 60s and the 70s, some of the dialogue was a little clipped. And it was a little bit of overacting, and instead of just saying the line naturally, it would be like clipped and trying to get the line out so quickly. And I did notice that in this movie. And I think it was the first scene, the first couple, the lady that's on the lounge, and she's saying, "Oh, Ned, it's so wonderful to see you." Like it was just so like abrupt, and it's like, oh.
And that was strange. Some of them really loved him and were so happy with him, and obviously whatever happened in his past didn't affect them.
No, they were genuinely happy to see him.
Well, when he asked about his friend who had died, and his like the mother said you should have known he's dead, kind of thing.
But I mean, if it was a lot of trauma, you could imagine that. And you're sure he's dead? Was he dead?
The kid's friend, his friend?
Yeah,
I think so. He wasn't there for him, and
I don't remember.
That was the impression I got, anyway.
Me too.
But it never gave it. It never said, well, he died because of you, or you should have been there for him, or he wouldn't have died, or like I was waiting for some confirmation. Right. Never got it, and so I'm trying to figure out, well, what could be so bad that he wasn't a friend to this guy at the right time? Well, a lot of times you aren't friends to people at the right time. It seemed as if she blamed him for his death. I was assuming they were going to say, well, the accident wasn't my fault. The deer jumped in front of the car. I thought those words were going to come out.
They didn't.
No. And she was so stern as she was talking to him. And I was just waiting for her to explain what was going on, but she never did. So I thought, okay, this is part of the plot where we're just to maybe presume something, or but she, and you knew that you just took from it that he was dead, but it's just, but like you said, Jeff, you don't know like he was to blame or what was going on there.
You can blame him as if he committed suicide and you think their friendship broke up just before that happened, or he did it because of the friendship breaking up, because she really was blaming him for her son's missingness. Like, it was his fault, not her fault. That's for sure.
But anyways, he was an ad man. So this is another Darren Stevens from the mid-century, because we've seen it. That seemed to be quite the career that people were working in advertising.
If you like Billy Bob in Goliath, he is even better in Landman.
Yeah, Martin's just starting to watch that. I liked the first season of Goliath, and then it kind of, to me, went downhill. They tried too many different things, but yeah, it was still okay.
Landman is so. I've only watched 3 or 4 episodes, and it's sort of funny at times, but I think he's better than in Goliath.
Yeah. Well, so every time I thought the movie sort of dragged on, when I know that it's a 12-page story, of course it dragged on. But we because the story didn't tell us, did his friend commit suicide? Like our friend, we don't get any of that information because it wasn't in the story, and then they would have to fill that in.
You could have made it. They were trying to keep everything from us. The thing is, why this happened to him was kept from us.
Right.
Like, so they were into having the loose ends not tied up for you. That was almost
that's on purpose.
Even at the end, did he get home? Did he find a place to sleep? Did he die there? Like,
we don't know that. So that I found sort of unsatisfying, but I'm glad they also didn't, wrap it up in an unrealistic bow. Like the unraveling of him I hate it when they're suddenly put together because they, had a good night's sleep or took a pill or whatever it was that fixes everything. Those are very unsatisfying.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're very predictable too. So this one was definitely unpredictable, which is one thing I liked about it, that it kept you guessing for sure. So,
and they worked the Bible into it. Jeff appreciates that. The Song of Songs, the Song of Solomon. Jeff used to, when we would have family devotions, I once had a boyfriend over, and my brother Jeff sat at the table, pulled up the Bible because we quite often would read it for devotions at the table, and he read, "I have a little sister. She has no breasts. What shall we do with my sister on the days that she is spoken for?" And I was like, sitting there mortified that he's done this. So it's like, Jeff knows the song.
What did your mom do? Like, was she just like,
I'm sure she just gave up on him. Just sit down and cry on the floor like she would often do. Poor mom.
How's your mom doing?
Okay.
She's doing pretty well. Good.
Yeah, she's she had this fall was, I think, a little bit harder for her. She has some medical stuff, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because I know it was your dad. I think it was last June, I believe.
Yeah, June 20.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she's living in a good place and close by family and lots of good stuff.
Oh, good.
And she would not have gone swimming. She
would
dog paddles because
she dive in our pool.
She did not
keep her head out of the water. She'd dive head first, but her hair would not get wet.
She did not want her hair to get wet because when it goes flat, she looks like a drowned rat. She does not like that.
Oh,
so she did not want
above water.
Above water. She could somehow dive and keep her head out of water. She would swim.
Oh, yeah.
So, but we did have a pool growing up. Jeff jumped off the roof once to land in the pool, and
oh my goodness, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so.
Oh, I haven't been recording. We're gonna have to start over again.
Oh yes,
yeah. We couldn't have done that when we were kids because the only pool was our neighbors behind us, the Onkins.
Oh, I thought of a great story when I was watching this movie of me doing sort of that. So, Russ McRae, Bob Mooney, and myself, Mom and Dad were gone somewhere. We decided, so this would be grade 11, probably. We decided we were going to skinny dip in the pool. So up come our bathing suits, and we're all naked in the pool. Three men. Yeah, it's amazing. I turned out straight. So we then were daring each other stuff, and one of the dares is go over to the Onkins pool, which is right next door. So we had to climb a fence,
climb up a ladder, and then down a ladder,
and then swim through their pool. And their bedroom window is right above the pool. So if you're loud or slosh, they're going to look out the window and see you naked in their pool.
Oh my God.
So we each took a turn, climbed the fence naked, go through, went in the water, swam across as quietly as you could, got out, came back. And then the next one had to do it, and the next one had to do it. So now we've all done this and not got caught. Our next one was running across Upper Ottawa naked.
Oh.
So we had a towel around us. We're standing right at the side of the house and like look for cars or no cars. Drop it, run back, towel on. We each did that too. But
I clearly wasn't at home.
Oh dear.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. Well, I sure enjoyed that clip, The Wizard of Oz, that you sent yesterday morning, because you were saying that you and Anita, that's what you watched when you were younger. And yeah.
Well, it's amazing how the song title just, I could sing the whole thing.
Yeah.
And same with, that one I might have seen, but years ago, I loved HR Puffin Stuff. With Jack Wilde, and I would watch it I believe it was Saturday morning, and Jack Wilde I was in love with. And then I found out they canceled the show, and I remember crying to my mother, I won't be able to see him anymore. But I would know that song. So Jeff found a clip of it, and I thought, before I listen to it, I'm going to see if I know the song. And I knew the whole thing except for one line. And there was no way I could have known it in between, because we had HR Puffin Stuff when we were kids, and there was no other place to watch it. There was no other. Right. We didn't have videos. We didn't have any of that stuff.
Right.
So there was no YouTube at the time, but I was like every single word, except I think this one little line I got. Wasn't sure about that. But how you can memorize something and I can't find my keys.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny how things like that, we can memorize things, but it's like me, I can remember things way back, but I can't remember what I did 2 days ago. It's like, I work at an adult upgrading program, and Maggie, she'll say somebody came in, and I'll say, who's that? And I'll recognize the face, but I can't remember the name. It's bad. I have to go get something downstairs. So I go downstairs and I can't remember what it is. So I have to go upstairs again to be in the spot where I remembered it, so that I can go back downstairs to do it.
You scan the countertop, you're looking, what could have been the rag.
Yes. There you go. Yeah.
The joys of getting older.
Oh, I wonder if Nettie got older, so that we don't know any of that.
We don't know if he stayed 52 or.
What was your line you said about he didn't have any bones? He was all. You said a line about Stacey about Burt Lancaster.
Oh yes. That's Kunk on Life. She was talking about all the different things and about anatomy and medical things, and then she said to somebody, very much like Burt Lancaster, made of meat. He's made of meat. He doesn't have a skeleton. She is hilarious. Oh my God!
Have you seen Kunk? Anita?
You keep trying to tell me to watch it, and I've seen little clips, and I'm not.
There's some series and then a movie I just put in.
Sure, I just haven't.
He's pretty good. She's the right kind of dry for you. You'll really like anything Kunk.
Yeah, well, I've tried watching your Amy Sedaris's show too, and it was fine a little bit, but it didn't make me go ooh. It's not much that makes me want to go, ooh, I want to watch the rest of them.
I love Amy. The thing that you're missing is every single episode is culturally talking about other things. Like,
oh, sure.
Stacey found out about that little idol coming out to kill somebody. And you reminded me of that in
That's
which
right.
movie was it?
The Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black. It was a made-for-TV movie, and it was a little Zulu doll that was chasing her around the apartment. And I didn't know, because I've watched Amy Sedaris' show too, and at the time I saw the little doll. I thought, oh yeah, that's like the Karen Black show. And then I was talking to Jeff one night, and I said, oh yeah, do you remember this? And he says, oh, that's like that episode. And then he sent me the episode, and I thought, oh yeah, I remember that.
But she makes almost the exact scene, like the same kind of, oh, you're gonna kill me, and then she does it, and she does that through so many things. There's a very famous old movie called The Man in the Moon from like 1920, where there's this big moon and a rocket ship launches off the earth and sticks in the eye of the moon, and it's really poorly done. And she has a takeoff of that. in one of her episodes of a rocket ship going in and sticking in the
Yeah.
moon, like she's all into astronauts in one of the
Well, there are no new ideas really, but to cleverly, satire
Well, she steals them directly. So yeah, you're right. There's not any new ideas, but she's not pretending any of her things are new, whereas most people are.
right.
Yeah.
Like all the single ladies,
All the single ladies, all the single ladies, all the single
They
ladies.
show Beyonce stole that because they show 3 white women doing essentially with different words.
Yes.
The same song with the same moves that they were doing. Put your hands up. That everything. It was amazing.
If you want some of that inside information, I've been listening to a podcast called "The History of Rock Music in 500 Songs," and it is fantastic. I am not even I am not musically inclined enough. Like, I love music, but I don't know anything about it. But he weaves together some of the information about why a song was, and he's just Andrew Hickey. He just does an amazing job of, and like a couple of them are like it's 4 hours long because
Even
he just has
you don't care about are interesting.
Yeah. Just fascinating. And it's just, you have it on in the background. I used to go walking with it a lot, and it was like, it's fascinating he's very thoughtful. He is a little bit too, I don't want to offend anyone, because the songs had language back then that was, not appropriate for today, but it's like, well, that's what they wrote. So
so would he talk about like the meaning behind the songs, or what inspired a song, and
all kinds of stuff. So he's just picking a song and a person, and then so much else gets woven into the story.
Sometimes what happened when it was recorded on that day, and somebody didn't show up, and somebody else showed up, and they were from this other band, and they were playing the sax on that one and he wasn't supposed to be, and then there was a lawsuit, and then all these the things you guys both like.
I was thinking that's right up my alley. All that detail stuff.
Inside information. Now, some of it I don't really I need to know, but it's like, I found it fascinating the way he wove these stories together. And one of them, it was like, I had the wrong information. Someone wrote a book and I read it and I thought it would be the right information, but nope, something's come up and it was wrong. So now we're changing the narrative of what everyone thought about the singer or song.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's just fascinating. He used to come out with them fairly regularly. I think I'm at like 100 and something, but he plans to do 500 of them.
Oh,
so,
and his name's Andrew Hickey?
Andrew Hickey, and it's on any podcast thing. The history of music and rock and roll music in 500 songs.
Okay.
So I highly recommended.
Right.
Like normal, we've diverged off of our movie topic.
See, when I'll be watching you guys will be chatting about things. You see, I'm just adding right to the conversation.
Here's what we've not realized: inviting Stacey to come do the podcast, we've lost our only viewer.
Yes,
no, you'll watch yourself.
No, I don't watch it. There's no reason to watch it. She's seen it all. She was here. What? Do you watch them again?
No. Occasionally, I want to have you to have more than 2 views. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, but that's watching 10 minutes, so it clips a view in.
No,
what? You won't watch the whole thing. No one will now. We've lost.
I never thought of that.
I put it up and I start writing, and it's playing in the background.
It's a show that eats itself. That's what this show is.
Right.
If we got another viewer, we would bring them on board and lose our viewer.
I still remember I think it was the last one. It's like and subscribe, subscribe and join our Patreon. It's like, we don't have Patreon.
That's right.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that was neat. The one episode too, Jennifer was on there. Yeah, Jeff said, "Who's that?"
Martin's been on it.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, walking by maybe.
Yeah, see, last month in December, he was quite ill. I remember.
He was not, and so he had the respiratory thing, and he had that for like 2 weeks, and he finally got over it, and then it was gastrointestinal. So like, it was like a month of feeling crappy.
Was it RSV? Because I
no
had
idea.
That. in October. It was bad. Yeah.
It might have been one of those things. We didn't get tested. We weren't going to go to the doctor and have the doctor say, go home and stay in bed. So
did I tell you, Anita, about my methanol poisoning?
Yes, you did.
Right, I did. And did you know? But did I tell you, Stacey?
I saw it on the
Oh, I talked
podcast.
about.
Yeah.
I talked about my. Really?
Oh,
I'm not that orange.
do we? There's lots of stuff because we go off, and I tried to, like, we were just talking about mom, and you were saying, how's your mom doing? And it's like, mom doesn't listen, but she might get terribly, nothing to do. And here we're talking about her, I don't know. We should make up something. I was going to say venereal disease, but it'd be terrible because she doesn't have that, but it's like, try something. Anyways.
Yeah.
That's what I do with Frisbee. When somebody hurts themselves, they'll say, usually people ask if they want a Tylenol or whatever, and I'll say, all I've got is my herpes medication. And they'll like look at me strangely, and then I'll say, it's not mine, it's my mom's.
Okay, one of my favorite things is you used to say to the waitresses, what do you recommend? And you would say, do you have anything good for hemorrhoids? Just to embarrass the waitress.
Really? See,
Oh, Jeff, you used to, because you used to tout that a couple of times. So that Christmas, I got a great big box, and I got 2 pillows with pink pillowcases, and I put them together so that it looked like a butt. And so I made the poem, and he had to go get his presents by putting his hand in the butt and pull it out. And it was called Dr. Jensen's Guide to Bowel Care. That was his
okay, I remember that. But didn't I have hemorrhoids then? I might have had hemorrhoids.
You could have been, but you don't tell the waitress that. That's not common courtesy.
You know, I mean, what you do sometimes.
Yeah, for a laugh, eh?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, never bought them.
That's what happens.
Oh dear.
Okay, well, who's going to figure out the next movie, Anita or me?
Well, are we going to have a connection?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Well, I say, Stacey, you had set 3 of them out. We could do another one of those.
All About Eve and The Accused, the Loretta Young version. Yeah, because I know Jodie Foster had done one, but I know on MB it's the original. So
okay, do we want to pick one of them? I think that would be good.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, why don't we do All About Eve then?
Okay,
sounds good.
We rarely have the next one selected by the time the first one is over. The next one. So like and subscribe. And join our Patreon for the announcement of what the next movie will be. Oh no, you already did
recording after we hit stop recording.
Yeah, Anita, remember, like with PBS, thank you to viewers like you.
That's right.
Brought to you by the Paul Weller Foundation.
Oh, one of the movies or series you're going to have to get, Jeff, is Who Do You Think You Are? Now it's an ancestry kind of thing, and it talks about family history. But so there's a Canadian season, which is I think 1 season long because there's not that many famous people. The American one is pretty long, but there's a British one, and so they had this guy who was a rock star, and they did a one-off. Was this lady? They were filming her watching the person who was being done the family tree, and then it happened to be that he was from her town, and it was her favorite. It's like saying, oh, George Clooney is from your town. Oh, he is. And it's like, and then all the information started coming up that it was the same people in common. And it's like, so she's starting to think that she's on the family tree of her favorite musician. And then the guy's at the door knocking, and it's all a joke. It's like, so well done. So well done.
Oh,
so I'm going to have to watch that one day. I just saw a clip of it, and it's like, ooh.
Yeah. Oh.
So much of my MB requests are, oh, I saw a clip. Put this up. It's like, sometimes Jeff already has it up, and it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. He's got some really good stuff on there. Oh my goodness, we watch a lot. That's for sure. My folks have watched Y50 Gunsmoke. He put that on. They watched every episode. It's fantastic. It is.
I watched all the original Batmans.
Oh,
So much so that Martin wasn't well at the time, right? He's like, Batman. He's like, I need to not hear that sound for a day, please. The last season, the last show of Batman starred Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Oh.
And it wasn't a two-parter, it was just one.
And it was it Eva that was in Green Acres, your sister? Eva or Ava?
I think so. Yeah.
With Eddie Albert, yep.
Well, apparently people really wanted to be the villains on the Batman series. I mean, they had Milton Berle, they had all kinds of ones that weren't even that well known.
Yeah.
But there's just a whole slew of them. And the humor was just so, it made me laugh because so Batman is walking in with his bat cowl and the bat outfit on, and Robin's standing next to him, and they're walking into a bar, a seedy bar. And so Robin says, well, what should we do? And he says, I would like you to keep your voice down. We need to remain inconspicuous. And it's like, you're walking in a and it was just it's like, what? And then, holy guacamole, Batman. Holy strawberries, Batman. We're in a jam. It's just like, there's just so many of them. And it's like, oh, where did they come up with it? Yeah. It's just so bad it was good. And then climbing up
and
the
that
wall.
can happen. It's so terrible. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna stop the recording. I'll see you all.
Goodbye, all our fans.
Okay, bye.
We
This
have
was
none
fun.
left.
Thank you.
We have none left.
We'll see you next month.
See you next
Yeah.
month.
All gone.
Jeff hangs up on us.